Resolution results. Developing countries should prioritize environmental protection over resource extraction when two are in conflict. Definitions. Developing country. A country is in the process of developing. Prioritize. Designate or treat something as more important than other things. Environmental protection. A practice of protecting the natural environment on an individual, organizational, or governmental levels for the benefit of both the natural environment and humans. Resource extraction. Extraction of natural resources from the environment to advocate for further industrialization and basic harm to the environment. My value for today's debate is societal welfare. It is defined as the wellness of society as a whole. We need to protect people because policies are largely utilitarian. I hold that environmental protection is going to benefit the most people. The criterion that best supports societal welfare is the preservation of developing countries. Preservation of these developing countries is the first thing we should discuss. Ensuring their survival is our priority to all the discussions. Stiglitz 12. Resource-rich countries often do not pursue sustainable growth strategies. They fail to recognize that they do not invest their resource wealth into productive investments above the ground. They're actually becoming poor. Political dysfunction exacerbates the problem. As conflict over access to resource rents gives rise to corrupt and undemocratic governments. When valuing environmental protection, it preserves developing countries by not causing the harm stated in Stiglitz 12. Contention 1. Resource extraction harms the environment. Humanity's survival depends on the environment. Elrich 1. Humanity's global civilization is threatened with the collapse by an array of environmental problems. Humankind finds itself engaged in an act of grand suicide on a grand scale, facing a storm of environmental problems. The most serious of these problems show signs of rapidly escalating severity, especially climate disruption. But other elements could potentially contribute to a collapse. An accelerated extinction of animal and plant populations and species, which could lead to a loss of ecosystem services essential for human survival, integration, and land use change. Resource extraction harms the environment and causes mass loss of life. Ulrich 2. They interact in two gigantic complex adaptive systems, the biosphere system and the human socio-economic system. The negative manifestations of these interactions are referred to as the human predicament. The human predicament is driven by overpopulation, overconsumption of natural resources, and the use of unnecessarily environmentally damaging technology to serve as Homo sapiens aggregate consumption. The human population size is now above the planet's long-term carrying capacity. To support today's population of 7 billion sustainably, it would require roughly half an additional planet. If all citizens of Earth consume resources at the U.S. level, it would take 4 to 5 more Earths. Adding the projected 2.5 billion more people by 2050 would make the human assault on civilization and life support systems disproportionately worse. Almost everywhere people face systems with nonlinear responses, in which environmental damage increases at a rate that becomes faster and faster with each additional person. The prospects do not provide much confidence that the technology will save us or that gross domestic product will be disengaged from resource use. Resource extraction results in higher levels of violence. Downey, 2010. The evidence presented in case studies support our argument that natural resource extraction is associated with armed violence. It suggests that armed violence plays a key role in ensuring that natural resources critical to industrial production and national security are extracted and sold in sufficient quantities to promote capital accumulation and state power in the court. Armed violence appears to be a key mechanism that helps make global capital accumulation, coordination of state powers, global ecological crisis, and ecological unequal exchange possible. If resource extraction is continually valued over environmental protection, then the environment will only get worse, and thus the harms that result from a harmed environment only get worse. The earth is already overpopulated as it is. As resource extraction continues, the environment worsens. Environmental protection stops the progression of environmental harms. This preserves every person's life, culture, and happiness. Contention 2. Resource extraction has negative effects on the economy. Subpoint A. Resource extraction causes such disease, meaning that it undermines every other sector of the economy. Morrison, 2010. The most well-known effect of the discovery of natural resources is the fluctuation of the real exchange rate, leading to what is often referred to as Dutch disease. The fluctuation of the exchange rate is caused by the rise in the value of natural resource exports. It generally makes other non-natural resource exports less competitive. With other imports now cheaper, it becomes more difficult for domestic producers to compete in the local market. As local labor and assets are used by the natural resource sector, their prices increase, making them more expensive for producers in other sectors. The overall result is a privileging of natural resources and non-tradable sectors, crowding out both the traditional exports in an economy, manufacturing, agricultural, or both. Subpoint B. Resource extraction causes a destructive boom and bust economic cycle for developing countries. Blog 2009. We have shown that the resource curve is a problem of volatility. The high volatility of world prices of natural resources cause severe volatility of output per capita growth and countries depend heavily on them. The result of unanticipated output growth has a robust negative effect on long-run growth itself and is a curse. This is not limited to oil exporters, but also applies to exporters of copper, coffee, foods, etc., which include many of the world's worst performing economies, performing countries. The end result of economic collapse could be a devastated economy as well as an inability to care for the people of the developing country, which can lead to things like famine and death. Contention 3. Environmental protection is key to keeping a stable economy. Charlene, 2013. Environmental protection is good for the economy and creates jobs, according to decades of national experience. The assertion that environmental protection can inhibit economic growth is inherently wrong. The Environmental Protection Agency said that policies implemented in the past have produced a cleaner, more prosperous nation. Cutting carbon pollution will spark business innovation and will grow jobs and will strengthen the economy. She studied stricter fuel economy standards set by auto manufacturing. Car makers responded by increasing mileage per gallon in vehicles, lowering their carbon emissions. The auto industry was on the brink of collapse 4 years ago, McCarthy said. But now the Center for Automotive Research, an independent research organization, predicts that the industry will add 35,000 jobs in 2013. The industry is emerging as an export powerhouse. More than 1 million cars and light trucks exported from U.S. auto plants. Now stand open for processing.
How are you solving for the Dutch disease? And how are you solving for your contention too?
Okay, so the way that the firm is solved with the contention too is by not making these problems worse. So what the negative
How
is
are you
doing
doing that?
simply by not prioritizing
So
resource
there will be
extraction.
no resource extraction whatsoever in the affirmative.
No, there will be, but not
Okay.
the expedited.
So, what state are the developing countries in? What's their state right now? How are they?
They're developing.
They're developing, right? Do they have enough money to carry out environmental protection? And uh, and your contention 3, do they have enough money to carry out all the environmental protection that you're talking about? Can they
Yes,
prioritize
so many
environmental
developing
protection?
countries do have a lot of money, and there's also other ways to obtain.
What countries have a lot of money? So you're saying the developing countries are developing. That's their goal,
Okay.
right? To develop, and so the best
Yeah.
way to win today's round is the one that provides the best form of development.
No, the best way to win the ground is whatever side leaves the developing country in the best condition.
Okay. Who is emitting the most like carbon emissions or harming the environment the most? Developing countries the main contributor to that, or
Well, developed countries, but these developing
okay,
countries
thank
can
you.
eventually turn into.
Eventually, so they don't have to do it right now. Thank you. Okay, your condition 3. You talk about how environment protection will help. Uh, like what countries or what specific developing countries have they been tried in?
Okay, well,
Your contention 3.
yeah, I have a specific example in India, but in my contention 3, specifically, it talks about a system that was implemented in the United States.
Okay, so
Can
that's
also
just
be,
happening in the United States, not the developing countries.
It can be used in other places.
Has it been tried though? Like, is there evidence stating that it can be used in the developing countries, or it has been used in the developing countries, or is it just in the United
Okay.
States, a developed country?
This is from an article from The Economist from 2009.
Economist. Okay.
And it talks about how in India, the Green Revolution, and I'm not sure if this is talking specifically about the auto industry, but it's talking about
how is India's environment right now? Is it great?
No,
Has
India's.
it helped people? Is the economy great in India right now?
Okay.
Are there people still in poverty in India?
Yes, and the
Yes,
reason why
okay.
people are in poverty in India is also because a lot of the reason why through extracting resources that's actually caused a lot of carbon emissions. So one of
So
the things by
how are you
extracting
solving
resources.
for carbon emissions? Do you have like specific plans to solve for carbon emissions?
Yes, by not focusing on resource extraction and also
So
focusing
you
more
have
on
like
green
no
technologies.
solvency in your case. Okay.